Hi everyone, thank you Harsha so much for the introduction. I am Gabriela, as she mentioned, a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, studying business and international studies in the Huntsman program. I'm from Cali, Colombia, and I am beyond excited to be here with you all and moderate this panel about something I'm extremely passionate about and that inspires meaning into my life, which is giving back. It is with great enthusiasm that I present to you our truly admirable panelists, Carrie Sharpshair, Ken Myers, Lisa Leonard, and Joan Battery. Okay, so let's begin with a round of introductions. If you please could um, introduce yourselves to our audience.
Sure. Well, the two speakers before covered most of it. I will just add that I've been in Rotary, which is an organization, a service organization all around the world. We'll talk more about that later for a very long time. And I love to travel, and I've been really enjoying your summit so far. So thank you so much for inviting members of the Rotary Club of Philadelphia. By the way, we are located geographically in between New York and Washington, D.C. So for those of you not so familiar with where Pennsylvania is in the world, that's where we are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie Sharpshair. I'm so excited to be with you all this evening. And as Lisa mentioned, we were introduced a little earlier, but some other little fun facts about me. I've been involved with Rotary now for just about a year. I've been familiar with Rotary for many, many years and have finally had the opportunity to join and be able to give back. Here in Philadelphia, I have a 2-year-old dog that we walk the city a lot and have a great time. And I am a grandma to two amazing little granddaughters back on the west coast of California.
Yeah, so as was already mentioned quite well, actually, by the team, I work in the film and television industry through technology that we built to help commandeer global mobility, manage that process for productions, casts, and crews worldwide. But very honored to be here. I can relate to many of you. I've lived around the world, did my undergraduate work largely in Sydney, graduate work in Beijing, China, worked as a consultant actually in intercultural consulting field across Germany and throughout Europe. So worked mostly with some major multinational corporations, Hugo Boss, Siemens, BMW, Volkswagen, and decided when I moved back to Philadelphia that I wanted to open my own company. So yeah, just a little bit about me as well, and just love working with this team throughout the Philadelphia Rotary Club. So thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Joan Batory, and I've been in Rotary longer than any of these folks. I'd say about 30 years. So that means I've held several leadership positions in Rotary International and have very interesting international experiences that I can share with anyone who would like to know more about us. I began teaching history in an urban school area where the students had no clean water, no clean air, and I began to wonder why I was teaching history. So I left teaching, got a master's degree in environmental studies, and opened, with the help of a local government, the first environmental studies center in the state of New Jersey, which is again between New York and Pennsylvania, New York City and Philadelphia. I was very fortunate that the governor of the state of New Jersey appointed me to a 15-member commission to preserve a very large area of the state of New Jersey that was internationally recognized by the United Nations as a United Nations International Biosphere Reserve. People wanted to develop that area, and because it had 17 trillion gallons of pure water underneath it, developing the area would have spoiled the water that who knows when it will be needed, but it could be needed soon. So the commission developed a plan to preserve the area. And it's one of my life achievements to know that I've preserved over 1 million acres of very unique forests in the state of New Jersey. And while I was there, one of the longest rivers in the state of New Jersey was coming under development pressure. So I worked with the Congress of the United States to have that river preserved. as a natural river where it could never be impacted by development. Now I'm into green building, working with multifamily buildings, very large buildings in Philadelphia, to help them undertake best practices to reduce their carbon footprint and use of fossil fuels.
Thank you so much for the amazing introductions. As you can see, all our panelists are heavily involved in the Rotary Club of Philadelphia, an organization united with 1.2 million members, 35,000 clubs, and 16 million volunteers in 200 countries worldwide to create lasting change in communities across the globe and in ourselves. The Rotary Club of Philadelphia has been taking action locally and globally for more than 100 years through community service and granting $30,000 annually to worthy local and international causes. With no further ado, let's dive into the questions. So the first one is for all of our panelists. What does giving back mean to you?
All right, I'd like to begin and say I think it's in my blood somehow. From a very early age, I was just signing up for things, and the earliest example I think is just being a Girl Scout. You know, these are organizations which give an opportunity to do good or to make a difference, whether it's helping the local senior center or packaging little gifts for other students or whatever it was. Just I started early. Fast forward to my high school years, I volunteered at the Museum of Broadcasting as I was living in New York City at the time, and volunteered for the college radio station and so on and so on. And then ultimately Rotary when I became an adult. It's kind of, in my view, the price you pay for living on the planet. And my experience with volunteering and getting involved and in ways to help out and help be of service, it feels good, and I think it's really just like a core value that for me it's guided me, it's helped me along the way, and I'd like to think it has helped others. Oh, and by the way, my love language is acts of service, so I am sure there's a connection here. I feel like it would be a bit isolating to live in the world, if I didn't try to help people and make a positive impact. So, and as I've gotten older, I feel like I have more time and resources to give. So happy to be a volunteer and hope to continue for many, many more years. Joan, or yeah, Carrie?
I think, like Lisa, I think I was born this way, reaching out to help people. And it's very odd for me to meet people who don't understand that we are all living on the same planet, that we all breathe the same air, we drink in essence the same water, we all have beating hearts, we all have functioning brains, and our role is to take care of each other, because if we don't, who will? So Rotary gave me that outlet, because while I volunteered for many things in the past, including teaching in a distressed area, Rotary has given me the opportunity to really help others, both in our community and around the world. It makes me feel good.
Definitely. I think I'll go ahead and go next. So Lisa, I was a Girl Scout too. That's one thing we've never chatted about. So we'll have to compare. We'll have to compare notes. For me, along the lines of similar theme, I think for me, it's a way of showing gratitude. I consider myself incredibly blessed. I am fortunate to be active and have really good health. My children are grown, are doing great, having children of their own. My family is healthy. I'm gainfully employed, and I know this isn't the case for everyone. And for me, being able to give back is an element of gratitude for everything that I have in my life and that I've been given, that I've worked for, and it is that way of staying connected. And I think it's also a way, in that same vein, of really being involved in something that's bigger than myself, right? It helps. We all know, right? We're all busy. You're either in school and you're studying, or you're working, or maybe you're doing both. And we're busy. We live incredibly busy lives these days. And sometimes it's so important to just kind of get out of your own way and connect to something that's a little bigger than yourself. And for me, giving back, being of service, and volunteering definitely does that for me. And at the end of the day, all of that just helps me stay really grounded, right? Sometimes it can be very easy to, feel a little good in our britches, so to speak, right? And it's a way of being grounded and just be grateful, give back, and connect to something bigger and keep sane.
Yeah, and no, I think that's a great bridge because I relate to each and every one of you on this very topic. I specifically grew up with a very generous and proactive mom, and also someone who got that specifically and directly from my grandmother as well. The same sort of heart, and so I was exposed to this at an early age, but also one of the things that I realized, and really to touch on this point of what giving back means to me specifically, is I liken it to, and I'm sure many of you have gone through this experience before. One of the best things that they always tell you when you're learning a language is to immerse yourself in that language, immerse yourself in the culture. If you have the opportunity to live in another country that with a different language, that you utilize that opportunity to fully become fluent, immerse yourself in that environment and learn the language through that process. And I see it very much the same way with giving back. I think it's great, obviously, folks who are generous philanthropists with their money. But I also really feel a very special sort of feeling towards actively involving yourself, immersing yourself in those experiences. If there's something I'm very passionate about, I take the time to really volunteer my time personally, involve myself from a personal perspective as much as I can in that particular cause. And you really get to learn, you get to feel that you understand the inner workings, the ins and outs of that very particular cause or initiative that you're pursuing. And then a sort of a byproduct of that as well, which I think is awesome, is that you become so passionate about that that others can feel that. They can feel that emanating off of you. And that also then creates a domino effect where folks around you want to get involved in that cause as well. So for me, giving back is very much hands on. Personally, it's not good enough for me just to maybe throw some money at something. I want to be involved in that. I want to be immersed in that experience, and that's the way I feel that I learn that cause or initiative best, and can share that passion and engender support for that in the best way possible with folks around me. So
Yes, I completely agree. Thank you so much for sharing, and I really connect with everything you all said. The next question is for Lisa and Ken. Could you please tell us about how have you given back and a bit about your experience?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm 56 years old, so I have several decades of examples I could give you. I'll just share a few highlights right now. With this age comes wisdom. And so as I've gotten older, I feel like I have more wisdom to share. And so, as an example of what I do with that, is I take opportunities and offer to mentor younger people who are trying to come up in the voiceover world, for example, or I used to be a broadcaster. So if anybody's interested in radio or television, I've got some introductions I could make or advice I can share there. I have more resources to donate now that I have a successful career in business. So I am able to donate money when those needs arise and when those fundraising letters come around. As a business owner, I am operating my own schedule, so I have flexibility with my time, and that means I'm able to volunteer when I can. I'll carve out time. And I just earlier today spent several hours at a food bank, and we were with the Rotary Friends preparing some meals for the homebound ill. So these are just different ways that in my current life I'm able to help out, whether it's volunteering in time or giving money or sharing wisdom or advice or making some connections with people. And then going back, a few years, when a something happens in the world. I remember as a lifelong lover of koalas, the marsupial from Australia, I was really heartbroken with all of the bushfires in Australia several years ago. And I just wrote to my clients. I sent them an email blast and I said, if you hire me within the next 2 weeks, I'm donating all of my money to Australia because they need it. So Australian Red Cross got a check, as did the Koala Hospital. And that's just something I was moved to do. And I did it. And I hope it made some positive impact during a really difficult time with that crisis. Obviously, what's going on in Ukraine, our Rotary got very involved. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I want to talk about something that you may laugh at, but I feel that it's Lisa Leonard's way of giving back in maybe a lighthearted way, and that is I host Zoom dance parties for some girlfriends every week. And it's something that started in the pandemic out of a feeling of isolation and feeling all of the stress from this scary time that we were all in, and the need for exercise and stress relief and energizing for our work week. And so long story short, I just put the word out there. Would anybody be interested in dancing for 15 minutes on Monday mornings? So now we do it. It's been going on, 3 years now. I don't charge money. It's just something that has grown. I've got a really nice group of people who join in every Monday. And then they tell me that it has meant the world to them because of the dark time that we were in. This was an opportunity to just have fun for 15 minutes, which ultimately turns into half an hour because we wind up chatting and talking about our weeks and sharing our goals and intentions for the week. So it has become a real bright spot in 10 people's lives. And you know what? It's just a small investment of my time, but if it's helping 10 other people every week, it's a little something I can do. So I'm going to keep doing it. So as you can see, giving back does not need to cost anything. So that's another example. And then, yeah, I won't say any more other than the Rotary involvement. Rotary is a way that we can help wherever the needs arise. And of course, most recently, we put our resources together for a major Ukraine relief fundraising effort. And I'm very proud of that. And those are a few examples. So I will yield the mic, as they say.
No, Lisa, it's awesome. And I think this is one of the things that I really want to emphasize today in our conversation. And this is not like me going through my ad spiel or anything like that, or marketing spiel. But to Lisa's point, and this is how I'm going to approach this question, Gabriela, that you posed about how I've given back or chosen to give back specifically. The beautiful thing about the Rotary Club is that you have a fantastic organization of phenomenal people of all different types of backgrounds from all across the world who are looking to achieve at least one great thing together, and that's leveraging the resources, the human capital, the volunteer support, the sweat equity, and also the financial resources of the club to come together and get behind specific causes that you as an individual feel passionate about. And to Lisa's point, I think most recently, and it's worth highlighting because I know, Lisa, you were getting into that, Lisa, Joan, and a couple of other folks in our club really came together to support this whole Ukraine situation when this broke out with the Russian invasion of Ukraine in late February, early March. And that started with a phone call with Joan and myself. We were, understandably, as many other people around the world were and still are, very upset about the situation happening in the Ukraine. And we said, look, what can we do about that? And literally within the span of 2 months, maybe 2.5, we came together. This was largely driven by Lisa, by Joan, and by another Rotarian who's not on this call as well. And they were the main conduit. They were the main driver behind this whole initiative. And we ended up having a huge gala event. And we netted over $100,000 for our international aid coordinators who are dedicated Rotarians in Eastern Europe to support, from a humanitarian standpoint, all of these Ukrainian refugees who desperately needed help. So that is a beautiful thing about Rotary. Specifically now for me, I'm also involved with a very high profile entrepreneur, business and restaurant owner here in Philadelphia, who's originally from Lebanon. Very interesting story in his own right, as part of the diaspora, Lebanese diaspora to the US. But we are focusing primarily on educational causes around Philadelphia. Philadelphia, quite honestly, now is experiencing a lot of educational issues, a lot of issues that are deeply affecting kids, especially in underserved, underprivileged areas around the city. They're just not having that full opportunity that kids in other areas around the country, and frankly, other areas around the world, are enjoying. And so we're very much focused on leveraging our resources to provide practical skills and practical educational opportunities for kids of all ages, ranging from kindergarten, preschool, all the way up to end of high school age, and even beyond in some cases. So that is a big, big focus for me. I'm a huge believer in education. I'm a huge believer that that is the basis for our success and our ability to contribute to our fellow humans around the world. So that those are the two areas that really I've focused on, but right now really heavily involved in what can we do to provide that educational basis or educational pillar for kids of all ages, so that they can realize their passions, understand how they want to contribute and can contribute to society, what their passions are towards particular career path or professional path, and how they can receive the mentorship, the support, the resources, whatever it may be, to realize that, and then to make that a practical, real life, scenario for them, and live that dream out. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Like, that's wow, that's truly incredible and admirable. So the next question is for Joan. Can you please tell us about how has giving back affecting your life and that of others? I think you're muted.
It's very easy to say that I am very selfish about this because giving back makes me feel good. But at the same time, I know that giving back is helping other people, many of whom I will never see, many of whom I will never speak with, but knowing that I can give something of myself to them has made my world very, very different. When you give back to someone else, you go outside of yourself and you share something of who you are in order to make the effort to make someone else feel better about themselves or live a better way than they are able to live. And so I know that I have made many friends around the world through Rotary, because there are Rotary members on every continent, in almost every large city, and we've reached out to them. In fact, we have a long relationship with the Rotary Club of Nottingham, England, since 1921. And we feel as if we're friends and meet every year just to say hello to each other again. I have what you may not remember the word Rolodex or contact list, but my contact list has expanded exponentially over the years. And I still maintain relationships with students who have come to study at the University of Pennsylvania here. And we still speak frequently and we keep track of each other. So warm friendships, many new friends, both adult and young, and the idea that giving back is our obligation and our duty makes me feel as if I'm worthwhile.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And I feel like that resonates a lot with all of my experiences with the giving back, and I'm sure that our audience also has had a lot of similar experiences with that. So our next question is for Carrie. Could you talk to us a little bit about what is the most impactful way of giving back?
Absolutely. So, in thinking about this, I was thinking about the word impact, right? And as a noun, as a verb, as an adjective, even, or an adverb. And, it strikes me if we think about that image of the water droplet, right, dropping on a still portion of water, and that initial impact is very strong and pronounced, but yet the ripples as they go out. And as Joan was saying, sometimes you do things you have no idea who it's going to impact. And that's kind of the beauty of it, right? Because you're doing something and it throws something out into the universe that, you will never know really how it impacts someone. And then I thought about, as Joan was saying, that she can look at this as selfishly as well because it makes her feel good. So I was thinking about that from that word impact. And I think one of the things that for me is really important is when I go to do something, what is the impact that's needed by the person, the organization that I'm trying to help? And a good story about this fairly recently, I would say probably in the last 3 years or so, there was a natural disaster. I want to say it was down in Haiti. I don't remember the exact location. And I believe it was through the American Red Cross. And they were inundated with donations of clothes and water and things that they couldn't actually use at the time because they didn't have the logistics to get the items where they needed. And their plea was, thank you so much. However, what we really need right now is money. And I think it's really important when you look out as to what you would like to do to give back, what's going to make the most impact and the most benefit for the person, the organization, the cause that you're giving back to. And sometimes that's rough, right? Because you may want to give money, but what they really need is your time, and that's incredibly valuable. And so I think researching that a little bit and understanding what's the best way for them, and it could be time, it could be money, it could be your services, it could be any number of things. But I think that that impact is what is important to them. And it doesn't matter what it is that you give, what they need, it absolutely will make you feel better because you know that you've done something that is helpful and impactful to them.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Truly incredible advice. Now we're moving on to how can we actively incorporate giving back in our daily life balance? And this is for Carrie and Ken.
Yeah, so I can start this off. And so a little bit about myself and something I've especially learned over the past, 5 to 10 years. Anything that you are going to be successful at, you need to make habit of. You need to make it a habitual thing. It needs to become a habit forming part of your life. And that is especially true with giving back. I think it's very easy to get caught up in our own lives and everything that's going on, whether it's, our profession or our job or our personal life, spouse, whatever it may be, parents, family, et cetera, friends. And so it's very easy to have that intention that, hey, I want to get involved in this, and maybe you show up once or twice to the soup kitchen, for example, and then you never show up again. And so it's very, very important that you make that a habitual part of your life, giving back, and you continue to practice that on you know as frequent a basis as possible. Um, so one of the things that I do in that sense is that I try to make scheduled promises. I load into my calendar, for example, okay, every Wednesday and Thursday, I'm going to go to Mana, wake up at 6 a.m. That shift starts at 7 a.m. because it keeps that muscle memory going as well. If there's particular requests through Rotary or a particular initiative that we're pursuing, I like to keep in contact with fellow Rotarians and say, okay, where are we on this particular project? What is the particular service project or scope of service projects we have coming up as well? You have to make it a habitual thing. Also, I would say, think about, don't feel forced, for example, if all of your friends are focused on one initiative and or project, and you just say to yourself, I'm just not passionate about that. Don't feel bad about that at all. Take the time to sit down, reflect, think about what is meaningful to you, what you want to pursue, and then figure out what are the resources available to help me or to allow me to pursue that particular thing. Um, and then actively put a plan together to incorporate relative to that project or that initiative that you can then execute on as well. It can be in anything. I'll give you a specific example right now. So obviously, as Gabriela already mentioned, I'm very active in the film and television industry, and the economics behind the film and television industry and how it economically impacts the state is beyond anyone's imagination. As far as tax credits go, and those are credits that are given by the government for money spent in a particular state or region to an enterprise or organization spending that money. For the film and television industry, that economic impact is greater than any tax credit or any other industry in the state of Pennsylvania. And so for me, we've done the research, we've crunched the numbers, we see what that impact is, to hotels, hospitality groups, bars, lounges, the entire infrastructure of the state. And so I made that a big mission of my own, helping to, on the side, support an organization called the Pennsylvania Film Industry Association that then lobbies our state legislators, our governor, our state senate to increase that tax credit so that it can benefit the entire economic infrastructure of the state. And also that creates educational opportunities, going back to my earlier comment, for kids across the city to receive educations and training in film and television so that they can actively pursue a career in that area as well. So really, again, just to summarize this, make giving back a habit as much as you can, and make that a part of your life on a habitual basis, and take time to think about what you really, really want to do, and don't feel pressured or don't feel obligated to get involved in something you're just not passionate about. Pursue where you want to see that change. So, yeah.
All right. So I'll take that and I might go a little deeper, Ken. So I love the habit, right? Because that's what it's all about. When you make something a habit and just make it a part of your life, whether it's a daily, weekly, monthly, something that you do, it is the mechanism, right? It's just automatic. So I'm going to take it from the perspective of, what are some really tactical ways that you can start incorporating this? And it kind of goes back to what Joan was saying earlier about the fact that, hey, we are all human. We are on this earth experiencing, the human experience together. And I've noticed over the last few years, and I think, I do believe the pandemic hampered this a lot in a lot of areas because we were masked up, we were fearful, we didn't necessarily know, what was happening day to day. And so I felt that we lost the ability to make eye contact with each other, right? All we could see were each other's eyes, but this was my personal observation. We weren't really making eye contact. We couldn't see each other smile, right? So we had no idea what was going on behind the mask. And so, my recommendations certainly are from an ethnocentric perspective. So what I'll throw out to you, may or may not be, appropriate in your particular situation. But think about the things that are human in nature first. Man, smiling at someone when you pass them on the street, saying hello, saying good morning. I find here in Philly that sometimes we get a really bum rap about not being very friendly, and I personally find it the opposite. Having coming from California, I wasn't sure exactly what to expect, and I found people here to be incredibly warm and giving. People smile at you, they say hello, they say good morning. It's amazing. They want to say hi to your dog, pet your dog. So think about those things that are human. Give a smile to someone, say hello, hold the door open for someone. If a neighbor is coming in, I live in a city in a very urban area, right? So parking is not really easy here in the city. And so a lot of times, if you've taken your car out and you've gone grocery shopping, you are putting the hazard lights on your car so that you can unload your car really quickly and then drive around the block to find a parking space. And I love it when the neighborhood kids, they'll come and they'll say, "Oh, Miss Carrie, can I help you bring your groceries in?" Those types of things are just amazing. Holding that door open, helping a neighbor out. One of my favorite things to do is um, if I'm out and about doing errands on the weekend and I see a houseless person who is sitting nearby a coffee shop or a restaurant, and rather than give money, I will ask first. I'll say, "Hey, can I get you a cup of coffee? Can I get you a bite to eat? What can I do for you?" And I make eye contact with them. And there have been times where I've actually sat down on a curb and had the most amazing conversations with people and sharing lunch with them. And to me, it's all about that human connection first and foremost. And when you start to incorporate that by giving the smile, saying hello to the neighbor's dog, whatever it is, that does become habit, just like Ken was saying. And it makes you, I don't know, for me anyway, it makes me walk a little taller, right, down the street, saying hello to someone. I'm very proud of my dog. He's very cute, right? So I love it when people want to come up and say hello and pet him. And, little kids who might be afraid, their parents say, "Oh, is he nice?" And I say, "Yeah." And I'll have him sit and I let them, pet the dog. Those are ways of giving back. And those are things that are automatic that can be done in just your daily travels. And so, I would say that doing those things at the foundation is a great start. And if you're uncomfortable, give it a try. See what happens the next time you're going into a place of business and someone is holding the door open for you. Make eye contact and say thank you. I don't know about you all, but it is so, it bothers me sometimes, right? When I've held the door open for someone and they rush right on in, right? It's like, oh, it's nice to say thank you to someone. So, what are the human things that you can do first and foremost to get that kick started in your everyday life? And then, as Ken said, broaden that out a little bit. Research the things that are of interest to you. What makes your heart sing? Is it in business? Is it human interest? Is it animals? Is it, gosh, you name it, right? Space exploration, reading, writing, and literacy. What is it that lights you up from the inside? Because the more you get involved in that, just the lighter and the overall, the happier you are, and you sleep really good at night. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good thing. So I hope that answered your question, Gabriela.
Yes, definitely. That's really thought provoking and inspiring. The little things really make a huge difference. And finally, we're moving on to our last question for Joan and Lisa. What recommendations do you have for people who want to give back but don't know where to start?
You've heard a lot of information from our panelists here talking about how they have been giving back. Lisa and I said that we feel we were born with the giving back gene, but I'm sure there are many of you in our audience who don't feel that way. Or if you do feel that way, you are very hesitant to do something about it. Maybe you are from a culture where younger people do not make eye contact with older people. Or maybe you're in a culture where you have to be very careful about what you say or do. That's understandable. So you need to assess the culture in which you're living and how you can become more active yourself within the confines of your own culture. Now, keep in mind that what we're talking about here, Ken's talking about habit, giving back a habit. And I would suggest that giving back is a state of mind. If you're not born with it, you can develop it. It is a state of mind. Now, you may be listening to this and saying, oh, I could never do this. I am too shy, or I think that I just cannot put myself out there to a perfect stranger. Think about what you just said. You just said, I cannot do this. You're focusing on yourself. And maybe you say to yourself, I'm really shy. So I just don't feel comfortable talking with people. Once again, you've used the word I, and we're talking about us and we. So how do you get past the I and move into the others? Carrie has given you some suggestions, very simple. Smile at people, hold the door open. And in this case, what we're talking about is judging how you best can give back. If you feel that you're too shy, you're too inhibited, you can join with other people who are doing something similar and become part of the group. Then you have group think. Then you become one, and your viewpoint is strengthened by the other people with whom you joined in order to help other people. You may not find that to be true. You may decide, well, where is the need in my community? Think about an orphanage. Think about a hospital. Think about a place for animals who have no home. How can you approach that institution and say to them, I can help you? And you'll find that there are other people who are saying the same thing, and that your offer to help will be welcomed, whether you are shy or not. So think about that as a way of forcing yourself, in a way, to engage in sharing yourself with other people. I mean, remember that shy people are very sensitive people, which is why often they're shy. But sensitive people are very caring people. They need a way to express themselves. And that's how you find the outlet where you can express yourself so that you can share your caring, given your personality and who you are. So we say that you lose yourself when you reach out to others. You know, there are a lot of people in Hollywood, actors, stage actors on Broadway, who off the stage or when they leave the camera, are extremely shy people. But when they're in front of the camera or on the stage, they become a whole different person. And I sense that that is what happens. Even the most shy people, when they forget about themselves and focus their attention on the persons or persons whom they are helping. So those are just a few of my suggestions about how to overcome the I and focus on the other.
And I'll jump in on what you've just said, Joan, about shy people or just people who have some discomfort. Think about all the people in need who maybe are not comfortable asking for help. So this ties into what I wanted to lead with, which is to ask, find out what are the needs. In Rotary, we have something called a community needs assessment, where Rotary clubs, wherever you are encouraged to talk to the mayor's office, talk to the education department, talk to the police force, find out where the needs are, and then, you know, an organization like Rotary can then fill in the gaps or provide provide some kind of service that would be of value. If that sounds too grand scale or too out of reach, just go up the block and check in on your neighbor who might be older, who may be struggling a bit, or maybe his or her heat is not working. So just a quick reach out, or check in with a text message, or reach out on Facebook. Something I did recently for International Day of the Girl, I got on social media and I said, I have had women help me come up in my career, and I would like to offer to help any girl who contacts me today, or if your daughter is looking to get into voice acting or some field in communications, get in touch today. Free mentoring, free advice, as a way to kind of tie into that holiday of or this day that is being celebrated. You can do that too. A National Pet Rescue Day. Volunteer your services with an organization that you care about. Now, we've been mentioning Rotary a lot. I realize many of you may not understand Rotary, or maybe you have a misperception that it's some exclusive organization that maybe is not, welcoming. I would encourage you to consider going to rotary.org, learning more about it. It's all over the world, and new members are generally welcome, and especially in this United States, we actually love the idea of bringing new members into Rotary, because then that's more volunteers, and the more hands we have, the more good work we can do to help more people. So that's one reason why I like being a part of Rotary, is because it is an organization. Frankly, it's easy. I don't have to think very much or make my own plans, because I know that my Rotary Club of Philadelphia every month is going to have a list of opportunities. All I need to do is look at my calendar and say, yes, I would like to volunteer at the food bank on Saturday. Click, I register, I show up. I'm with other nice people, and we have a great time while we're wrapping sandwiches or labeling food, to-go plates or whatever it is. That's one of the benefits of getting involved in sort of the organized form of volunteering, such as Rotary, but there's also Kiwanis, Lions. I don't know much about those other groups, so I won't speak to them anymore. But other things you can do, your religious community, your political campaign that you feel passionate about, your 9-to-5 job, your office may have, or you might suggest that they organize a day of service for the employees. So you with your coworkers can go and clean up a park or help out at a food bank or senior center. The more people you have doing this sort of thing, many hands make light work, as they say. And I get the feeling we're running out of time. So, Gabriela, should I wrap it up?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
I have more to say, but anyway, tell your friends volunteering is great, and rotary.org is where you can get more information. Okay, I'm done. Thanks.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you so much. I can't express how grateful we are for your time, advice, for sharing your amazing experiences with us. It's truly inspiring. It was a privilege to moderate this panel about giving back. And now we're moving on to our next sequence of the Global Game Changer Summit. So thank you so much for joining us, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.